Go.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. My name is Laura Bailey, and I am a member of the Pantex Lunch Bunch Toastmasters. Some of you have seen me compete, and you know that I love to tell stories. I love pulling outrageous situations together and presenting a fun and exciting speech for my audience. I read a whole lot, and so I try to take those storytelling techniques that I find through reading and incorporating them into my own speech. But I found through reading that the best storyteller of all times is Jesus. Now, Jesus used parables to teach lessons to his followers. And parables are simply just a short story that present a moral issue or a moral lesson. And they wanted the people to take these stories back to their own lands and retell the stories. So that was why they were short and sweet. My favorite parable is actually the wise builder and the foolish builder. And of course, most of us know the story, but I'll recap it. The wise builder built his house on the rocks. The foolish builder built his house on the sand. The storms came. The houses got beat up by the storm. At the end of it all, the wise builder's house stood firm. The foolish builder's house fell down. So that's a pretty easy story. Children know it. I really thought that it was my favorite story from Vacation Bible School. You know, the rain came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up. I love doing the hand gestures. And so I always thought, well, that's why it's my favorite story. As I grew older, I realized that it's only 4 verses long. Did y'all realize? It's only 4 verses long. But it says a lot in those 4 verses. It's a very powerful speech when you think about it. And you can really take the lesson that the parable teaches and apply it to any part of your life that you need to add wisdom. So say a work situation, relationships, financial decisions, educational decisions. These are all areas where we can take that parable and apply it to our lives and say, you know, I need to be a little bit firmer on my foundation in this area. So it's a very powerful speech. Recently, I had a situation that kind of challenged me. And amazingly enough, it actually has to do with the building of a new building, the construction of a new building at the church across the street from my house. They're expanding. Last fall, they came in and they tore down all the houses across the street from me. This left me with a view of a liquor store, a convenience store, and a busy street. And I was mad. I was enraged. I mean, anybody that came close to me, I was talking about the injustice of what the church is doing to me. And I was really angry because my property value went down. I'm talking, I lost probably $80,000 to $100,000 just on the cost of my home. I'll never be able to sell it. But recently, they started construction on the new building. And they started by digging this huge pit. I mean, it's 20 feet deep. The trucks would go in, you couldn't see them. So for weeks, the trucks would constantly go down my street taking dirt away from the site. And that made me mad, of course. And so then they reversed the project and they started bringing dirt back to the site. And I was watching all this activity and I was thinking, they're making sure they have a firm foundation for their building. And that reminded me of the parable of the wise man and the foolish man. And I realized this situation had pulled me away from my firm foundation. The anger that I was feeling had caused a problem for me. And so the storm that they caused pulled me away from my moorings. And at that time I said, I'm the foolish builder. And I was amazed. I said, you've got to get over this. You either accept it or you're going to be mad forever. I accepted it. And I feel much more peace in my life. Because the parable reminded me, I need more wisdom. Everything will work out in the end. And I have confidence in that. It's a great story. It's a great parable. And it was told by the greatest storyteller of all times.